America or Europe? What would you choose? As per research, your environment has a strong effect on your behavior, and rightly so. Of course, you will behave differently in an environment that offers better living quality. Now, the question arises, where would you get a better quality of life? Both the USA and Europe offer developed and fast-paced surroundings. So, in what way does life differ in these two different places? In this video, we are going to explore the comparisons among the two developed regions, the USA and Europe. Watch this video until the end to know all about the living standards in these regions. Number 6. Life in general. Life in the US and Europe is so different, yet no one has reached a conclusion about choosing one. According to so many people who have moved to the US, life in Europe is much more fun. But at the same time, some people prefer living in the US over Europe. If you've never been to the US, then let me give you a cultural shock. You would barely find people walking here. Most of the time, you'd find the sidewalks empty. In some areas, this might not be the case, but in many cases, you would be the odd one out if you choose to walk to a location. We all know America and its association with fast food. But do you know you may find most unhealthy food items at low prices? But if you decide to eat healthily, that might cost you a month's salary. The prices for nutritious food items have skyrocketed. Number 5. Language and race. The history will give a list of reasons why America is a toxic place for people of different ethnicities. If you want to thrive in the US, all you need is white privilege. Indeed, there are people from so many different ethnicities living there, but the racism is still there. People are still being pulled over because of their race. They're still losing opportunities because they're not white, and they're still being treated as the underdogs. Who would want to live in such a toxic environment? But it's not just about race. The language plays an equally important role. It can be really hard for you to survive in the US if you can't speak English. You can say it's the ruling language here. For some people, this can also be boring. For someone who grew up speaking another language, functioning with English can be challenging for them. Europe offers so many different cultures and languages. Won't you want to be surrounded by other languages and cultures? Even when you don't understand all those languages, it feels refreshing to be surrounded by so many different people. Life seems more fun when there are so many other ways to say things. Number 4. Freedom and safety. This may be a controversial take, but the US government does not care about you. They will make you happy with low taxes, but they bleed you dry when it comes to expenses. It's like you can only live a good life in the US if you're filthy rich. Safety is a significant issue too. A place where the government can't even provide you with affordable healthy food options. How can one live a healthy life there? For people who don't earn enough, should they just poison themselves slowly with unhealthy food? Well, the government may not budge an eye to even that. A pretty famous person once suggested killing the homeless to solve the homelessness issue. So, if you are rich, can you treat people like they are worthless? Number 3. Living cost. Living in Europe is definitely cheaper than living in the USA. While the euro is more valuable than the US dollar, the cost of living is relatively higher in the USA. You would agree too if you were living in Europe. It is more expensive to survive in the cheapest state of the USA than in most of Europe. Do you know anyone who lives in Kentucky? The average living cost of a person in Kentucky is almost $3,400 a month. And guess what? This is the most affordable state to live in the USA. If this is the most affordable, we can only imagine what happens in the most expensive state. On the other hand, Europe can accommodate you at a lower cost of living. Let's say you live in Switzerland, and it would cost you almost $5,000 a month to live a decent life. But you have affordable options here. You can go to Bosnia or maybe even Hungary. The average cost of living in Hungary is around $900. The difference is astonishing. Both Kentucky and Hungary are some of the most affordable countries in their respective continent, but living in Hungary will cost you literally less than half of Kentucky's cost. The education is also relatively cheaper in Europe. You can get your degree for half of the price that you would have paid in the US, and you don't have to be at the top to live a decent life in Europe. Although the taxes are high, every average person has the privilege of 5 weeks of holidays, affordable public transport, affordable healthcare, and a decent education for their kids. As an ordinary person in the US, you'll have to sacrifice your personal life. With increased working hours, fewer vacations, and almost inaccessible healthcare, your work life could lead to burnout. Number 2, work life. If you're an employee in an American company, you'd be aware of the at-will concept, which means that you can leave the job at any time and your employer can terminate you at any point. Now, it may look like you have the flexibility of choosing your workplace, but in depth, it has created so much insecurity among workers. And because most American companies follow at-will employment, it has been a significant con in the job market. Not to forget how workers in the US are literally being robbed of their benefits and social protections, whereas European countries usually have a powerful employment protection system. Although there are relatively fewer job opportunities, some regions have higher unemployment rates, but that doesn't take away your essential benefits like healthcare for you. They have concrete laws for their employees' security. Employees' salary packages include healthcare, paid parental leave, and even retirement benefits. This builds up a sense of job security in the workforce. Employers in the US don't really offer paid leave or retirement benefits, but some of them do offer healthcare. But that benefit is tied to their employment. So if you're a US resident who has just lost his job, you can't be sick because the healthcare is primarily privatized, and it's so expensive there that it will cost an arm and a leg just to call an ambulance. Now imagine being severely ill. That would take every penny you've ever saved. Number 1, amusement parks. On a lighter note, let's talk about amusement parks. No one can genuinely hate amusement parks. It's for toddlers, teenagers, and adults. Everyone loves going to these parks. Now, if you're thinking about what amusement parks have to do with living in the country, then let me ask you something. Do you remember the amount of times you've been to an amusement park? This is like a dream trip for every child, birthday wishes for some people, and of course, a very romantic date idea. Now, these amusement parks may have evolved from European fairs, but the USA takes the point for this one. Most European amusement parks are smaller and don't really offer the thrilling rides that people crave. This is often because most of these parks are constructed in areas close to towns and villages, so there are often restrictions to prevent disturbances among residents. But in the parks in the USA, it's like their theme is bigger, faster, and louder. Some of you may argue that European parks offer such rides too, but let's be for real, guys. Most of these look like they're made for kids. And where's the fun in that? Did you know that 59% of the world's fastest coasters are in North America? But if you're into themes instead of the thrill, then European parks are the better for you because no one does theming like European parks. The US versus Europe war has been going on for way too long. Maybe now is the time to put an end to it. It is pretty simple because it depends on the type of person that you are. If you are someone who has a fun approach to life and you need an interactive environment to live in, then Europe is an option for you. But if you have a really good job offer and enough savings, then you can make a living in the US as well. If you had a chance, where would you choose to live? The USA or Europe? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See ya!